everyone! Today I'm going to be giving you my opinion on a relatively new foundation invention, which is an all-over concealer, meaning you can wear these under the eyes to spot conceal or on a larger area of your face, the way, essentially, you would wear a foundation. So we're starting out with the Lancome Tint Idole Ultra Wear All Over Full Coverage Concealer in shades 095 and 250 mixed together. So when I first tried this on the back of my hand, I was astonished because I've never felt a formula that is so thin. There has to be some type of new technology they're using because it's so thin, yet it dries down with so much coverage. So as a concealer, this is, and I don't use this word often, but phenomenal. I'm going to show you under my eyes and also just a little bit on a blemish on my forehead. And it's really incredible. However, let me just caution you that it does have a very matte finish. So if you're very dry under the eyes, you'll definitely need to make sure your under eye area is very moisturized before applying. You can see how well this works as a concealer. But now let me show you how this works on a larger space, a hybrid application, if you will, almost using it as a foundation. I've experimented with both of these products, and I'm going to be putting on just a little bit more than I would in everyday life, just to make sure that it's visible on camera how my skin reacts using it this way. So you can see at first, it looks like it's just mattifying and covering everything. And from a distance, it looks pretty nice. But let me bring you in closer, and I'm going to throw in a couple of pics here too. And excuse the weird angles. It was a very cloudy day, and I was just trying to get under the light just right so you could see how it was reacting on my skin. And I can always tell when I'm smiling if a foundation looks too dry for me because the area kind of around my almost dimple it just starts to look like my skin is pulling, which is what you can see happens here. So basically all of the things that make this a wonderful concealer, the high coverage, the drying down to a strong matte finish, just don't lend itself for my skin type to be a very flattering foundation. Now I have normal to somewhat dry skin. However, I'm really curious to hear if anyone with oily or a little bit less textured skin has tried this because I could see this possibly being magical for you guys. Switching over to Merit Beauty now, we're going to use the Minimalist Perfecting Complexion Stick, which they say on their website is, quote, not a foundation or concealer, but it'll replace both in your makeup bag. So I was intrigued by this because it sounds so effortless. I love the idea of this. The packaging is stunning. It's so beautiful. I could just see myself pulling this out of my gym bag to, who am I kidding? I don't go to the gym. But, pulling this out somewhere and just, doing a little touch up around the nose where it's red or whatever. But we're going to start under the eyes first so I can show you what it looks like as a concealer. And just something to note really quick, this is $38 for 0.23 ounces or 6.5 grams. So it is a little pricey, especially if you're using this as a foundation. So I just wanted to point out how much product you get in this packaging before we go any further. So as you can see, this works well as a concealer. It's creamy, but it's not as creamy moisturizing as something like, the HD or the Makeup Forever, HD makeup stick or something like the L'Oreal Balm, which is good because if you're using it as a concealer, you don't necessarily want it to be that emollient because then it's going to fade away faster. So again, if you have dry under eyes with this one, you're going to need to moisturize well beforehand. And again, similar to the Lancome concealer foundation hybrid, I really had the same experience with this one. It worked well as a concealer. It just didn't really work for me as a foundation. Same thing, it just looked a little bit thick. It looked a little bit dry on the skin. So do these concealer foundation hybrids work? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to work for someone like me that has a little bit drier skin, a little bit more textured skin. But here's my theory on how these kind of came about. So for years, makeup artists have been doing highlighting and contouring in their makeup process. But it hasn't been until very recently, I would say over the last several years, that people on social media have really been doing a lot of highlighting and contouring. And I noticed that when it first started, a lot of people were using their concealer as their highlighter. So I think these companies said, well, hey, if people are going to use it in that way, let's go ahead and give them what they want. Let's give them something that they can highlight and contour with, and really almost use as a bit of a foundation. So I think that the intention is good. I think that it's almost there. But for me, these work well as a concealer. They just don't do the job as both. If I had to choose one, because usually when I compare two, I'll get a question asking if you could only keep one, which would it be? It would definitely be the Lancome. I just think it's so innovative. I love how thin it is. I think it's just a fabulous concealer. Merit Beauty, there's nothing wrong with it. I think it's really elegant. I think for some people it'll work, it'll definitely work as a concealer under the eyes and around the nose. But for me, the cost is just too high when I think of all the other concealers I have that are less expensive that do the job just as well. Have a beautiful day. Thanks for watching.